Well, why the spike in oil and silver last night, especially oil? I think the obvious, maybe you do know the obvious, what happened last night. There was Saudi airstrikes on Yemen against the Shiite rebels that were backed by Iran. Now, anytime there's major tensions like that in the Middle East, oil can spike, and that's something I've been saying all along. Except that the Middle East events are very unpredictable. But now I've been finding out it's becoming very clear to me exactly what's going on as what the game is overall because I did not understand why they were not telling Obama to be more basically hammer the Islamic insurgents, and even though he is Islamic himself or Muslim himself, and I know policies being directed by Valerie Jarrett, but there's actually a tight rope type of game that's going on. They're actually creating both sides of this conflict, and it's going to lead to some more major repercussions in the future. Now, before I get into exactly what's going on, I just want to warn people that, I know they've been saying about fiat money. Fiat money is the thing to hold for the last few years, but, no matter what it is that you're holding as money, you can't eat money, you can only eat food. And, one of the things that's actually going to be going up a hell of a lot more in price is food as oil prices go up. And also this global warming farce turns out to be exactly what it is, a farce. And we're going into a mini ice age that's going to put a lot more demand on the produce sector because the growing season is going to be greatly shortened. Now, the other thing is vodka never disappoints. That's also something else you might want to keep in mind because it can function as a type of money. The thing is, though, food is going to be their number one priority. I know they've been talking about global warming, and I see the major media is always pushing global warming. Even today, after this ridiculously cold winter that they had, all the records that were broken, except in California, which has been hot and dry, and also Alaska, but mainly across the entire globe, including Southern Europe, Northern Europe, Scandinavia, China, Russia, Japan, Vietnam, North Africa, and United States, in Northeast, Midwest, and Canada. They've broke all kinds of records. Even there was snow in Hawaii and Mexico and Vietnam. Like I said, that thing with Vietnam before. It's going to create a lot more demand on the infrastructure that produces food. So I just want you to keep that in mind. But here's basically the game that's going on with Elvira, the new Elvira Elite. What is going on is, I didn't quite get exactly what was going on before because I realized the game is to have the Middle East blow up in a major conflict, and that is actually going to take most of the oil off the market, and it'll create a situation where the oil that's in the United States and Canada is going to be worth that much more. But the thing is, I didn't understand what the policies were exactly, why Obama was being allowed to pursue these policies that seemed to be strengthening ISIS, the Muslim Brotherhood, Iran, and all this type of stuff. Basically, it is to create two major factions in the Middle East, and the one side of the major faction is going to be Saudi. Saudi looks like they're being surrounded by ISIS and also being surrounded on the northern border and also being surrounded by Shiite revolutionaries on the southern border in Yemen. That's what the airstrike was about last night. Despite all the bull BS charts out there, it's events like this that throw in a total new ingredient in the mix and change everything overnight. Sometimes people are chartists, but I'm going to tell you right now that, you really can't predict when that move is going to occur. And then again, if the situation settles down temporarily, you really can't predict it again. That's why sometimes there's definitely a real limit to the technical aspect of predicting the markets. But what you can see overall is that they are going to set for war in the Middle East. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of extremists on both sides and are arming both sides, actually with our money, to tell you the truth, because ISIS has been armed with a lot of American weapons in Iraq. Now, I just want to say that, a lot of the things you see on the YouTube airwaves, also on the blogs, also on the internet, you'll see a lot of times they're constantly pushing the religious message. But I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of these people that are pushing the religious message for profit, they are basically just Dr. Satan. You know, there's PhD Satan, there's Pastor Satan, there's Brother Satan, there's Holy Satan. And they do this a lot of times through the 501c structure, whereby you don't have to pay taxes on your earnings on all this. I'm giving a word to Jesus about Jesus, and I'm trying to save you, and I'm selling you this, and I'm selling you that. I don't know how many people that are really truly religious don't realize exactly what's going on with these snake oil salespeople. I don't play that game with the 501c. I don't push the religion. I don't have any affiliation with any bullion company, any of these other bloggers or anything like that. I'm totally independent. But I'm going to say, though, that I'm very much aware of how this works. A lot of times these people that are talking sweet and are talking like, oh, yeah, I believe in Jesus and I believe that the Lord's going to save us and, for the grace of God, please listen to me. They're just basically a tax-free foundation. You don't know what their situation is or what their game they're playing. And a lot of times they're making out for doing what? Nothing but talking. Now, on this channel, Adam, even though I have primarily a silver and financial channel, I do a lot of hands-on videos, and you'll notice that 99% of the suits out there will not do that. And that's, and there's a point that I really want to make when I say, I say that and actually do the stuff and walk the walk, is that, it's not just all talk. You got to actually be a doer. And, the thing is, the United States wasn't built upon just words and cute talk. It was built upon the actions of individuals. So anyway, while we're cheering on silver, maybe we want to cheer on long live chocolate, heroin, and vodka too. I don't know. But, there's other things in life besides silver. But you remember that's one aspect of keeping your finances in order is going to be your silver coin, because as these oil prices move up, that's really when you see the correlation in an extremely strong oil bull market. What happens is silver takes off and gets legs, and the correlation between silver, oil, and gold becomes very tight. And if you look back historically, as a matter of fact, anytime silver really, really took off, it was when there was a major conflict in the Middle East. Now, you can always say, oh, there's always been conflicts. There's things that stick out that are extraordinary. And what I think is actually a target is Saudi. Now that I'm realizing, because Valerie Jarrett is basically Iranian, pushing the Shiite side, which is the enemy of Saudi. So maybe that's why we have the elite that are actually allowed Valerie and Obama in office to push policy, indirectly with their hands off against Saudi. And basically that's the way to undercut Saudi without direct involvement by the American elite. And I think the thing is, they're basically got Saudi on a chopping block. Actually, since the king died in Saudi, there's been a lot of turmoil now within the Saudi family, whereby factions that were suppressed under the king are now starting to fight back. And actually, even the Huffington Post mentioned this. Also, Germany also said that they will not sell weapons to Saudi because they consider it to be too unstable. So they got internal problems and they got external problems, both on their northern front and their southern border. So, hey, maybe I ain't got no soul, as some of the people say, but I could tell you one thing: I'm more straightforward and honest than these holy yo-yos out there, the 501(c)s, because basically Jesus would have thrown them out of the temple a long time ago, and they're basically using religion as a tool for profit and a tax-free tool for profit. That's exactly what these people are doing. I don't know why people don't realize that, but that's exactly what's going on. So anyway, when we're looking at oil spiked up a lot last night, it is just one event. And now, if there was a major attack by ISIS on Saudi, I know Saudi's got a lot of very, very strong military, a lot of defensive positions and stuff. But say, for instance, there were successful attacks against any Saudi oil refinery, you'd see oil spike up like 10% on one day, easy, or more. I mean, as a matter of fact, there was the rumor of a Saudi oil pipeline that caught on fire back, I don't think it was 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago, and it was a rumor. It turned out to be false. it caused one of the biggest one-day spikes in oil prices ever. I think it went up like $8 inside of a day, or something crazy like that. Like from 100 something though. I think it went from like 102 to 110 or something like that. But it was like one of the biggest spikes ever. So anything that happens where Saudi oil production or involves Saudi in a conflict directly will send oil prices up through the roof. And like I said, the game is this. It's almost like the Goldfinger movie with James Bond. You remember what Goldfinger said? He wanted to nuke the gold in Fort Knox. Why? Because it would render it useless. Even though the gold is there, you can't touch it because it would be radioactive. It would make his gold worth that much more. So a major conflict in the Middle East will make the oil, the black gold in the United States and Canada, worth that much more. That's exactly what's going on. And that's when you're going to see your silver and oil prices and gold prices go way the hell up. It's been unpredictable as to when this is exactly going to occur. But now I'm seeing the method to the madness, why they really did have Obama in here, why they're strengthening Iran, why they're being wishy-washy with the agreements on the nuclear weapons and stuff. They want the opposite side to be, the Shiite side, to be strong enough so there'd be a major battle between the Sunnis and the Shiites. And Israel is going to get caught up and probably destroyed too, because I think the real devils have it in for Israel too. So that's exactly what's going on. That's really when your metals are going to go up. But the point is, we got other things going on besides, we got the cooling, we got the global mini ice age coming up, affecting food prices. On top of that, what's going to affect food prices is going to be the price of oil going up. The climate, which is the mini ice age, not in California though. California's actually getting hot and dry, but the lack of water is actually going to affect food prices, even without any inflation. So, I think though, but what's really going to affect the price of silver is not going to be the weather that's going to affect it, but it's going to be the conflict in the Middle East. And when there's a real major conflict that's involving Saudi and it affects their oil production, silver, oil, gold is going right through the roof, as I said before. But now I realize that what the game is actually whereby the elite are walking a very fine line, and they're strengthening both sides of this conflict. If you look at ISIS, I know Alex Jones will say, yeah, ISIS was funded by the CIA. In a lot of ways, maybe that's true. If you're looking at, I don't understand how they could be so screwed up as to allow so many weapons to fall into the hands of ISIS. Even when the Marines were evacuated from Yemen, hey, they should have destroyed every damn thing they left. They should have booby-trapped everything they left. Nope. A lot of weapons fell into the hands of the Shiite radicals still, right then. Even the intelligence fell into their hands. What's going on here, it's a matter of policy. There can't be that many screw-ups. Oh, I also want to mention this. When we talk about, electronic money and things like that, I'm going to tell you this. The international intercontinental ballistic missile actually is now obsolete in some countries due to new technology. As a matter of fact, here in the United States, we probably could not get hit with an intercontinental ballistic missile anymore, because more than likely it's true that we do have weapons in space. We have other types of EMP weapons that can actually shoot down missiles almost as soon as they're launched against us. The only thing that would have a tough time to stop would be missiles coming from submarines that are outside off of coastal waters that could be launched from like low levels and low altitudes. That might be very difficult to stop. But you know what? All this EMP technology to knock out missiles and things like that will affect greatly our finance and banking system. And I personally think that what's going to happen is we're going to have a major conflict sooner rather than later. Not sooner like this year, but it might be 2017, the 100th year of the Fatima anniversary. I don't know. But the reason I'm saying that is that it's like the powers are moving more and more towards China and the BRIC nations eventually over the long stream. If the elite in the West want their plans to go see through to the end, they're going to have to move now or sooner, not exactly today, next week, or even this year, but within the next few years rather than later, because their window of opportunity is going to slip by. because they're losing their competitive edge in the world. The United States is losing its competitive edge in the world due to competition from China and the BRIC nations, and also policy by the elite. But the thing is, it's like if they want to use whatever they have now, this is the time to do it. And I think they are going to do it. And when it happens, a lot of the weapons out there are EMP weapons. It's going to totally take down the grid and the financial system. So even if you got fiat paper, it ain't going to mean a damn thing. You'd be better off having vodka, to tell you the truth, as money. That's a fact. Or silver, or food, or whatever. Nuts and bolts, for crying out loud. Even nuts and bolts, practical items, toilet paper, whatever. Because what's going to happen then, believe it or not, our lives can change in a heartbeat overnight due to an EMP from war. And also, I mentioned this before, when we talked about the mini ice age coming up. That's a time when the magnetosphere of the Earth gets weaker and weaker and weaker. It makes us more susceptible to solar flares. In 1859, they had a thing called the Carrington event, which is a solar flare, which actually fried the telegraphs. In 1859, it's a fact. It actually fried the telegraphs. It would fry if that happened today, that would fry every freaking computer chip out there to bring everything down. Everything. And what happens is, during the mini ice ages, these normal patterns that we have every so often, a normal cycle in the sun, it's got an ebb and a flow. When you have these mini ice ages, the magneto and the power of the sun goes down. There's less sunspots. There's more solar flares. What happens is that the magnetosphere of the Earth gets weaker, and it makes us more susceptible to solar flares. So we're going into a major mini ice age. Our magnetosphere has been getting exponentially weaker. That's a fact. It's a scientific fact. And we're getting more and more vulnerable to solar flares. So even in the absence of war, we can actually have a grid or financial meltdown due to a solar flare. And you know what's sick? And it really is sick, because I realize this is a scientific fact. It's not a drama story. They're not doing anything about it. They could do something about it, but they don't. They can harden chips. They can harden the infrastructure. They don't. It's almost like it's going to happen someday, and then like, oh, well, it just happened. It's almost like you got a sign up there on the road, and it's actually Dead Man's Curve, and they put a sign up there, and they don't put a big barricade, and they don't put a big light up there and say Dead Man's Curve ahead and stuff. No, they just let people go off the cliff, and that's exactly what they're doing. So we got a few different methods whereby there's going to be a lot of problems coming up. I'm not being a doom and gloomer, and I'm going to tell you, like, oh, Jesus saves and all this kind of stuff, and buy my book, buy my DVD, listen to me, and because Jesus saves. Because most of those people are 501(c)(3)s, and they're basically the devil themselves talking religion. That's exactly what they are. I'm just a straight shooter, and that's all there is to it. So let me give you the scoop that what I said before about the major conflict in the Middle East, it looks like it's coming up because Saudi is now starting to feel the heat. And it looks very obvious that it's been the underhanded, underlying policy of the elite to arm ISIS and allow Iran to get stronger. So there'll be a major conflict between the Sunnis and the Shiites, and Israel's going to get caught in the middle of it too. And when that happens, your silver, gold, and oil is going to go way the hell up. That's what's going to happen.